our last story. So, in terms of sports here, now obviously we've talked about, who are the highest paid athletes in the world, how they generate their income by in terms of playing the sports that they play. In this case, we'll focus more on Formula One if you're into racing here. So, you know, one of my favorite drivers of all time is Ayrton Senna, who passed away in an accident. Uh, Now, the uh, current F1 drivers is Lewis Hamilton. Anyway, so what's interesting here, how much earnings they generate from driving their respective companies, as well as where they generate their extra income in terms of endorsement deal. Now, according to Forbes.com, Formula One's highest paid drivers or athletes has a clash between Hamilton and Verstappen, which extends to their bank account. So let's take a closer look here. Anyway, so what's interesting here, obviously Lewis Hamilton is one of the best drivers currently today, is earning a pretty high sum of money, similar or even more compared to with the likes of LeBron James, uh, Lionel Messi, or even Ronaldo here. Now, what's interesting is if we were to take a look in terms of their earnings, some of the F1 drivers, at the top 10, highest earnings, are projected to earn as much as 200, a little over $200 million. But what's interesting, if you look at the NBA, if you look at the salary of Stephen Curry alone, his extension, which was signed earlier this week or last week, I forgot. His extension would be in the same amount or even more for the next 3 or 4 years. So he will be staying with the Golden State for some time here. Anyway, so let's take a closer look in terms of their earnings here. So obviously, earning a substantial amount, you want to maximize your earnings, especially whether you're Lewis Hamilton or Michael Schumacher or whoever you are. Now, what's interesting here, even though he's the number one F1 driver in the world, currently he drives for Mercedes, the company. His base salary, as you can see here, is around 55, which is considered a lot, right? But what's interesting here is that in terms of off the court or off track earnings is even higher. Now, what would think that you would leverage your notoriety or popularity by partnering with several companies here to increase your income, so to speak. But that's not the case for other drivers here, which you will see in a little bit. So let's take a look here. So here we have number 2, Max Verstappen, who's a driver for Red Bull Racing here. So what's interesting here, his base salary is slightly lower. Now, obviously, he's no Lewis Hamilton, but he's still being paid millions of dollars to drive for Red Bull here. But in terms of off-track earnings, it's slightly less than Lewis Hamilton, a little over 42 million here. But if we were to scroll down with the rest of the what do you call this? The rest of the list here, you can see here we have Fernando Alonso, who's earning a base salary of 25 million, but no off what do you call this? Off track earnings here, meaning they are only tied to the company that they're driving here. In this case, for Alpine company. So the downside of being an F1 driver is you may be paid a lot in terms of your expertise here, but you're asked a lot to focus primarily on the task at hand, which is drive to the best of your ability, so that you will not be distracted in doing other stuff, so to speak. Now, obviously, in the case of Hamilton here, it's an exception rather than the rule. And if you notice here, even though Hamilton earns 55 million, right? If you subtract that with his total earnings, so 12 million, is it 12 million? 7 million. Yeah, 7 million came off other earnings in terms of bonuses and other earnings here. And in terms of being able to generate, endorsement here, if you go down the list here, so you have Sergio Perez, who's also for Red Bull. In terms of bonuses, that's majority of his earning compared to his base salary. And you also have Sebastian Vettel here, or Vettel. In terms of salary, that's his entire earnings. no additional off-track earnings or bonuses and so forth. So you can see down the list here, you have Charles Leclerc for Ferrari, and then Valtteri Bottas is the same. Then you have Ricciardo is the same. So they're not paid a lot compared to their contemporaries, and being able to earn more in terms of endorsement deals, they are limited also there. Now, whether that's good or bad, obviously it's a case to case basis. They're still millionaire, right? But you know, you're if you're a driver, you're always looking for a better opportunity to maximize your notoriety, like we discussed last time with regards to, like in the case of Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo being a champion in the NBA provides a lot of credibility in a sense, right? So a lot of companies would like to attach themselves, their brand names, to your popularity, so to speak here. Now, obviously, as an F1, driving an F1 vehicle is no easy task, since it's a very taxing. You have to be an athlete, so to speak, in terms of cornering, in terms of the G's that you encounter in making tight corners at high speeds, 100 miles per hour. So kudos to them. So earning a lot is always at the back of your mind if you can leverage it. And it is what it is here. So it depends on the sports that you are playing in, whether it's in soccer, basketball, football, American, or soccer, and tennis, or any other sports here.